Hello everyone, welcome to the next webinar by Orange Klik. My name is Augustas. Today we will be speaking about how to delegate, automate, systemize, and what else? To exit the Amazon business. It will be very useful for beginners, intermediate, and advanced sellers, I'm sure. And before I continue, of course, don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel of Orange Klik. It's important to mention. And this is where you will find us doing interviews with different Amazon experts. And here we go, all our guests today. So we have Gilad from Israel. He is representing Virtual Assistant Academy from Philippines. Gilad FREIMANN, right? And then Ken KUBEC from Thrasio. So Gilad is expert in outsourcing. Ken KUBEC is the one who is buying Amazon businesses. Marcin Chaszczewski from Poland. He's the systems guy. And we have a special guest, Lisett from Estonia. She will be just helping maybe to guide our conversation, ask some questions. So let's start with a little introductions. Can you, Marcin, introduce yourself very quickly, what you do and how you help Amazon sellers?
Sure. My name is Marcin Chaszczewski. I'm from Poland, and I help Amazon sellers systematize their business so they can spend less time in operations and more time on the important stuff. My favorite angle is spending more time with their families, but obviously you can use this time to, other things like doubling down on your business. I personally have built and sold one Amazon-based business, so I have some experience in the whole process, and systematization was important. That's what I help Amazon sellers with.
Perfect. And Gilad, so we are going systematization, now outsourcing. Gilad, what do you do and how do you help?
Yeah, I'm an Amazon seller since 2015, and I'm the founder of VAA Academy Philippines, or VAA Philippines. And what we do is basically it's really connected to what Marcin just said. The idea would be to give Amazon sellers the freedom to focus on growth and managing their business, and giving them basically the best virtual assistants in the Philippines that we can possibly find, and even train them specifically on Amazon so they could really help them to delegate the chores of every day in order to focus on growth.
Perfect. And Ken, what about you?
Yeah, so Ken KUBEC, VP Acquisitions at Thrasio, and we acquire Amazon FBA sellers. So we got started in the summer of 2018, and over that time period, we've acquired over $45 million sellers.
Great. I know that some people, some of the speakers like Michael Hartman sold some businesses to you. I remember.
Yeah.
Cool. And Lisett, can you very shortly introduce? I know you also help Amazon businesses with your knowledge. What do you do?
Sure. Quickly about my background, I started out as an assistant for an FBA store, and for the past 4 years I have been a store manager and strategic partner for different Amazon FBA sellers. So I basically help to run the store and manage the team and the task and everything in between. So that's shortly about me.
Perfect. So today's stream is it's for you who are watching live. So please comment in the comment boxes wherever you see them on YouTube or Facebook, and ask questions these experts who know how to systemize, build businesses and sell them profitably. And maybe let's start in a round. And Ken, Marcin, Gilad, and Ken, can you just shortly summarize what do you suggest for Amazon sellers, like maybe the mindset in order to run the Amazon business and to maximize the value once you exit it? So Marcin, what do you suggest usually for?
Okay, that's a very broad topic. Well, in terms of mindset, obviously it's important that people decide that they're going to treat it as a proper business. And thinking about exit is obviously a good sign, because that simply means they are thinking big and thinking seriously about what they do. And the moment they switch that this is a serious venture, hopefully that will also shift their mindset into the fact that they cannot do everything themselves. And then hopefully that will then again push them to more outsourcing and putting systems in place. And then coming back to the second question, which is what I would suggest to maximize the value. There's a lot of things, but systematized business that is easy to hand over, and a business that's not dependent 100% on you is easier to sell, from my experience. And also putting in place systems that will document things and will make it easier for other people to take over. That also helps during the selling process. And obviously, if you run your business based on yourself and you suddenly out of the business, there are possible things that can happen to the business. So if there are systems that will prevent that from happening, that's obviously very important. So again, documentation, outsourcing, thinking, and accepting the fact that you cannot do everything yourself is basically the beginning stages of the mindset shift.
So we will talk how to combine this documentation and outsourcing. So Gilad, what's your take on what do you suggest for Amazon sellers to grow?
So for the right mindset, I would say, first of all, is to get rid of we even have a term for it in online businesses, and it's called the Superman syndrome. Superman syndrome means that you think that you're a Superman sitting in front of the computer and basically trying to do everything yourself. Why? Because it's there. It's because you can do customer service and you can do inventory and you can contact your supplier in China and start to decide what to do and how to change things, and then contact Amazon and stay online for 3 days waiting for an answer, and so on. So the idea would be that the sooner you understand that even though you can basically sit in front of one computer and do everything yourself, which is different from the outside world, because when people are working in a restaurant, when somebody's opening a restaurant, he knows that he cannot be the waiter and the bartender and in the same time to be the chef, so he knows that it's not possible. But in here, this is why they call it the Superman syndrome, because suddenly you think it's possible, but it's exactly the same. Like Marcin said, it's a business like any other business. And if you act and if you understand it as soon as possible and understand that you cannot do everything yourself and you should better focus on the things that only you can do as the owner of the company, and delegate to virtual assistants everything that they can do for you, then you're already in the right mindset to grow your business, because you will not spend the entire day just doing things that other people can do for you, and you will not end up growing. So that's the first question, like what's the right mindset? That's the right mindset. And the right value, then I would say that if you're building a company that is not based on you, but yes, so there is this systemization part of it, and there is also like what's related to what I do is the understanding that you can move away from your business, and the business they will continue to run by virtual assistants. So you're preparing everything in advance by systematization of your business, and you make sure that nothing is done by you. So somebody else can buy your business basically and act as a manager, as an owner of the business, start taking decisions of the business itself, but not doing everything itself. And if you reach to that situation that somebody else, the business is run by several virtual assistants that each one knows exactly what she or he is doing, and the business is run by itself, and you're only there, to make the critical decisions, then you're already in the right, giving the right value for somebody to buy your business.
All right, thank you. And Ken, you are the one who is evaluating all the businesses. So what are you looking at when you meet the Amazon sellers?
Yeah, I think a big issue that I see a lot of sellers have is kind of alluding to Gilad's comment on the Superman syndrome is knowing how big your business can get with the products that you currently have and that you plan to launch. I think the biggest mistake is sellers hold on to the business too long, and they wind up, either flatlining or actually starting to decelerate. And when they make the decision to sell, they're, can be selling from a point of weakness. I think it's much better to, and if you're looking to maximize the value, to sell your business from a point of strength. So when the business is, doing extremely well, that's probably the time, it doesn't make sense rationally, and it's hard to think this way, but that's probably actually the best time that you should be looking to exit your business if you're looking to maximize the value of the business. So I think a lot of times sellers don't realize and don't, I'm sure a lot of them do, but the sky is not the limit for your business. For the current products that you have, there's a finite market share, a finite market for your products on Amazon. You need to know what that total market pie is and what percentage you think you can take. And then once you start, getting towards that, I think that's a good time to start looking to exit.
And actually, we got already first question. What are the all work we can give to VA? So I think it's a question for Marcin and Gilad. So Marcin, I know that I remember your old presentations where you explain how to put your actions or functions in the boxes. So how do you answer this question? Wait, okay, one more time. Now you're unmuted. Okay.
I'm unmuted. Cool. Okay, so there are a lot of things that your VA can do, but I think you should start first deciding of what you would like to go first. Okay, so the reason that there is a VA that can do something may not be the reason that you should outsource that particular thing. So what I always suggest is basically taking a stock of the activities that you do yourself. And that's usually done over a period of a week or two. It could be as simple as just taking notes in some notepad or whatever, just writing down things that you do, all the activities, and then basically you would start to look at them and see, okay, what are the things that I definitely hate doing? What are the things that take a lot of time but don't bring a lot of value in terms of growth? They're not really sales related or growing business related tasks. And what are the things that you want to keep and you have no problem in doing that? So you basically end up with some boxes of things that definitely you want to see go first. And then you start with those. And I always also suggest to kind of build a company chart that you currently have. And when you actually build a virtual company chart of your own company, even if you're alone in your business, you will see that you fill all the boxes, all the roles of every potential employee that your company has. And then when you go through that exercise and you see your names in every single box related to every single task, that usually changes your mindset to outsource. But to give an answer, the first thing I believe always should be outsourced first is customer service. And I'm sure Gilad will talk about that more. So customer service goes first. And also all the tasks that are related to monitoring things also should go first. So if you're still checking of what's going on your listings, if you're still dealing with customer questions on your listings or customer messages, that's definitely the first thing that should go.
Perfect. And Gilad, what do you think?
Well, Marcin said something interesting. He said that you should make a list of the things that you love to do and the things that you hate to do, and start to think what you can give to the VAs. I usually prefer to think about it in a different way. I take all the tasks that I'm doing and thinking one by one of, is this particular task that I'm doing now, is it something that only me as the owner of the company can do myself? Or is it something that somebody else with the right training, with the right attitude, with a very capable person but is it something that somebody else can do for me? And if my answer is no, this is something that only me as the owner of the company that looks for the long run and knows exactly where I want to take my business, this is only something that I want to take care of because it's mine as a part of the business, then this is something that I will focus and I will continue to do. If it's something that somebody else can do, then I should inspire to give it to somebody else. And if you go deeper into really understanding what a VA can do for you, then I would say there are actually two different parts of tasks. There are the everyday tasks that you're currently doing yourself in all fields of Amazon. So it can be customer service, answering to feedbacks, answering to reviews, contacting Amazon, checking your listings, creating new listings, answering for emails, looking for new products to launch, contacting suppliers. So all the things that basically you're doing now, and PPC, for example, how much time are you spending on your PPC? Maybe you're not spending at all time on your PPC because you're doing so many other things, but this is something that somebody else can do for you. So there are all the tasks that basically you should make a list of all the things that you're doing now, or all the things that you wanted to do now that are a crucial part of the business, but maybe you don't have enough time to do, and somebody else can do it for you. And the second things are the more challenging works, such that you never had the time to even go and look at. And these are the things that you always say to yourself, when my business grow, then I will do it. For example, I'm now selling on Amazon, but when my business will reach 50K or 100K a month, then I will start to create a brand on social media, all right? And you don't do it because you don't have the time now to start posting every day or every second day, and you're postponing it. But imagine now that you have a VA that's all her job will be to create your brand outside of Amazon. So creating Facebook channel and creating Instagram channel and so on. So all these things are things that are not really the everyday chores that you have to do, but are things that will get your business to a next level. So you should think of the things that you're doing now that you have to do, and the things that you would like to see yourself, but somebody else can do for you.
Perfect. Actually, Lisett, you work with big Amazon sellers. Do you have any suggestion? What do you see like it's most easiest way to outsource to a cheaper virtual assistant?
Yeah, actually, from my own experience, I started out as an assistant basically as well, and the first tasks were the ones guys were mentioning before, like everything that has to be done daily. For example, answering the messages and managing the feedback, and everything that actually takes very valuable time from the company owners. When they could work on, let's say, researching new product ideas, they have to sit down behind the computer and answer messages that could be done by somebody else when just given the right directions. And the way I also joined the first FBA seller's business was that they already made some kind of systems, and they had some recordings, and basically I just taught myself reading those systems recordings, and basically from the day one I was able basically to do all the work myself. Just in the beginning, you would need to ask some additional questions to understand the product better. Therefore, you can offer better replies to the customer. So I would agree that the easiest is to source out those first things like customer messages and feedback.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. And we have a question for Ken specifically. What are the key performance indicators that potential buyers see as the most important when you are trying to get the best price as a seller?
Yeah, the biggest KPIs I think buyers look for is growth rates, profitability metrics. So, how fast is your top line growing? What has your margin expansion been like? What are your net margins? So, and how have those trended over time, right? I mean, if your margins are compressing, is that because you're in a very competitive market and you're experiencing pricing pressure, and you're not able to offset your cost of goods sold reduction over time, and so your gross margins are getting squeezed, or your Amazon fees going up, or have you shifted different categories and sizing categories? So Those are probably the two biggest. What we look for in a business is really the competitive moat that a listing is built up. So we look for, we look at the reviews, the quantity and quality, and your organic ranking for keyword terms. So those are really the three criteria that we look for. But I think in general, growth rate and your net margins are probably the two biggest for the broader buyer community KPIs to focus on them that people look at.
Ken, what do you think how it will affect like now, all this coronavirus situation? So the normal statistics will go either up or down for some sellers. How you will be evaluating this?
Yeah, I think whenever you look at a data set, you tend to look at it through a lens of normalization as well. So, we have a portfolio of 45 brands. So we're experiencing massive fluctuations in both directions as well. So I think we're empathetic to what sellers are going through, either on the positive or negative side. We have to take a house view on how long we think this will last and what the long-lasting impact will be to a business or a category. But overall, I mean, I tend to tell sellers not to get overly optimistic or negative in the short run, right? I think this is a very anomalistic period we're going through, and to extrapolate March and say, oh well, this is going to continue for the next 18 months is just, I think, a fool's errand. So we take into account, but it's not something we point to in one direction or the other and use as a leverage or something like that.
Okay, perfect. I see one a bit funny question. Is it compulsory to have a VA when starting out? So I guess depends if you want to be successful, probably. I don't know how to answer this question.
Well, I can say that if you must have, if I understand correctly, you must have a VA when you're starting out your business. That's the question.
Marcin?
All right.
Yeah, well, I think the question was is it necessary to have the VA from the day number one, right? I can say something because I have the approach that. And again, it might not be the case for everybody, but I believe that if you can't really shine a little bit of example to your team, it will be kind of tough to manage them. Okay. So I always suggest that the beginning period where people don't have VAs, putting aside that they have to run their business, they should also put a little bit of time into trying to systematize themselves. Okay, so basically putting some order into their day-to-day activities and the way they manage their own time. Because the fact is that if you're a highly unorganized person, if you have zero experience with such an important thing like task management, it will be a nightmare to manage your VAs. And that's from my experience and from people I work with. So almost every time it starts with the owner of usually me trying to put some order into their activities, and then they in a way use their own experience and they shine the example to the team of how their tasks should be managed. So no, you don't. Well, you can, but I wouldn't jump, the first day on getting your VA if you don't feel like you know enough about organizing and task management yourself. If you do, then that's the great time to start getting your VAs and introducing them to the way you already work. Okay, so you're not introducing somebody to a crazy or unorganized mess and expect them God forbid to fix it for you, but in a way you're introducing them to the system you almost already created, and then they help you create that and grow that later as a part of the team. So that's my approach, very reality based.
Yeah, if I can just quickly add that I think that systems are super important for FBA sellers, especially because a lot of specific know-how is necessary to do certain tasks. So if we imagine like something, some simple tasks that you actually can do, maybe just by telling or explaining how to do something. But in Amazon, a lot of things require like certain steps, and there are a lot of like what ifs. If the customer or the seller support doesn't answer it that way, what do you reply then? So therefore, when you have a system and you have like a set guide for the VA, it's much easier to onboard them to your company. But I think I have felt that a lot of FBA sellers have this mentality that if you are just like by yourself in the company, or you have maybe one VA, you don't have system, you don't need to have systems. But then what happens is that when they quickly grow and they don't have systems in place, when they're growing, they're unable to manage the whole business, and then they don't have time to start making the systems anymore. Then they are in trouble. So that's why I agree that even if you're only yourself in the company, you should start to look into task management and systemizing your daily work as well.
And Gilad, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, I would say this. First of all, like both of you said before, I completely agree that when taking a VA to your company, even if the company is just you, it basically means that you're taking an employee that will be working under you. So you're not taking somebody and saying, oh, good, now I have a VA, I can focus on other things and the VA will do everything for me. You're taking somebody to be working with you and to be taking from you the parts that you would like to give them. But you're still going to be the one managing them. They will report to you directly every day. You will have to understand what they're saying, what they're talking about. You will have to decide if what they did was right or wrong, and to know how to correct them and so on. So there is still a work to be done every day with the VA, and it's better that you know what you're doing in order to delegate it to somebody else. So that's the first thing. But on the other hand, it's easy for us to say, okay, you should take a VA when the business is big enough. So then that's the right time to start delegating, when you're already an expert and you know exactly what to give to each person and so on. But we forget that this is an online business, and we have a lot of sellers coming to us and saying, okay, I've tried like 2 or 3 times to start to sell on Amazon. But you know what? I'm also working in a full-time job, and I have 2 kids at home and a wife, and I find myself, spending the very little time that I have looking for products to launch or answering customer service. And I find myself that I reach nowhere. I don't find a product. It's already like 3 months that I'm trying, but every time I have like 20 minutes here, 20 minutes there. So for these people, we know it for a fact that once they've decided that they know what to be done, but they just don't have the time to do it. So then when they're taking a VA and they're managing this VA, then it means that they can find the time to grow. Because finally somebody else will do the things for them, will spend 2, 3, 4 hours a day doing everything that that needs to be done. But they will find the 20 minutes now just to manage the VA, to know if what they did is right or wrong. And this is the only way that they can get out from the stage where they are, that they just don't have enough time, because they entered Amazon thinking that it's something that you can do like 20 minutes a day and eventually it will grow to $1 billion company. But it doesn't work that way. You need to invest everything. And if you don't have the time, then even from the beginning, yes, that could be the only option for you to actually start selling on Amazon.
Okay, thank you. So we have a question: how many VAs we must hire to fully automate our Amazon business? Ken, maybe you can tell. So you bought loads of businesses. What do you see? How many VAs are in each businesses? Can you comment on that?
Yeah, I would say so. Out of all the businesses we've acquired, I would, let's say the average revenue has probably been, I don't know, 3 to 5 million or so. A business that size, typically 3 to 5 VAs, at least 1 to 2 in customer service. People are, have another one for logistics and supply chain ordering. And then, maybe there are a bunch of, maybe a handful of freelancers sprinkled in there for content, etc. But we've seen businesses that have 4 or 5 customer service VAs that we've acquired. So I think it depends on the, how many products, how many marketplaces. I'm sure that, Marcin and Gilad can comment on scaling, but in general, I mean, every successful Amazon seller that we purchased uses the VAs in some form or fashion.
Perfect, thank you. I see another question. So Nigel says that outside customer service, like what other common tasks VA can do, because this person thinks he's a Superman. I know you answered like Marcin and Gilad before what kind of tasks they can do, but maybe we can connect this with a previous question, like how many VAs? So like let's say one VA is doing customer service. Can this VA do like social media, or how do you organize this how do you structure the VAs and their functions? I don't know. Marcin, you have some experience?
Sure, I can. Yeah, I can. I'm unmuted. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So generally, I believe that let's say around up to 100,000 turnover per year, you'll be perfectly fine with one VA. I think if you're only outsourcing the kind of operational day-to-day stuff. If you need somebody additionally for PPC, for example, I think then that would add probably the second VA. And again, it kind of depends on the approaches, because one approach is that you try to find a VA who's like super amazing and they can do customer service and they can also do a little bit of social media, and then maybe they can also do a PPC. But the other approach is that you can definitely try to outsource separately, right? So you have a VA for customer service, and that one person can definitely, they can do usually customer service. They can do monitoring, getting all your reports and any Excel sheet, Google Sheet work that you have to do definitely can be outsourced. So you also need to think that could be ad hoc tasks, right? So imagine you have some Google Sheets work. I don't know, you download customer data and you need to do some shifting around, and then at the end you want to have the list reduced by some criteria. In theory, that's for you, that's like maybe 10 minutes of work. But at that point you need to think, okay, like can my VA do it? And then you need to stop, take a deep breath, and say, yeah, of course she can do it, and you give that task to her. So usually somebody who's this operational type of VA can deal with that. And then the other person would be the PPC, for example. And also there is this danger protection that if something happens, if the internet is down, if Philippines are under hurricane or something, then or one person has trouble connecting, or they're in hospital, whatever, the whole thing is not down, right? The person who's responsible for the other parts of the business can still do it, and that one person cannot. So that's important. I personally had up to three VAs myself in the business that I sold, and I was very happy with that. Also, in terms of the social media, I also want to say that the operational VA can surely do the operational part of the social media. So let's say you have your post scheduling or replying to comments and stuff like that. That can be done. But sometimes when it comes to the creativity part, that operational VA may not be the best person, right? So in that case, then you would have a VA who's more social media type of a VA. That would be the third VA in that case, right? And that person then can definitely work with the operational VA to connect those two tasks. So the creative part, coming up with post ideas, graphics, designs, and the other one would be responsible for the maintenance and the day-to-day posting and all that. So yeah, if you're starting out, if you're growing, 1, 2, and 3, depending on how you want to divide those roles between the people.
Cool.
So, Augustus, I would say that if I may answer the same question, First of all, I definitely very much agree with the things that Marcin said in here, and obviously it all depends on the budget that you have. But at VAA, I give you this example. I mean, we have four different types of VAs. I said 3, not 4, because the fourth is actually graphic designer, so it's a bit different. But we have 3 different types of VAs for the Amazon business. One of them is Amazon expert, so it's everything related to customer service, and we talked about it before. The second one is PPC. The third one is social media. Now, why do we need that instead of just having one amazing VA? And it's very much similar to what Marcin said before. The character is different. Okay, the person that will be a PPC VA, like the one that you will want to work on your business, will not have the same character as the one creating the social media for you, because the social media will be all artistic and very good way to express herself in English, and she's going to be all about Facebook and Instagram and creativity and so on. And the guy or the woman that's going to be in charge of PPC will be all about, you know, numbers and Excels and mathematical kind of thinking. And the Amazon person will be all about customer service oriented. So this is why we actually separated and we train 3 different types of VAs. Now, it's also important to say that when you're taking a VA, you don't have to take a VA for a full-time job. You can decide that instead of taking one VA that will work 9 hours a day, you can take 3 VAs. Each one of them will work 3 hours a day, and then you covered, you know, one will specialize on PPC, one will specialize on social media, and one will specialize on every tasks that are related to Seller Central. So basically, in the same, approximately the same kind of price or the cost per month, you're giving the best people to do what they do best.
Okay, so this tip which you gave is suitable when people are hiring VAs from agency like yours, right? Where you have VA working for different Amazon sellers, focusing on social media. So I can hire such VA for 3 hours only, right?
Yeah, it's not necessarily our company, but yeah, you can decide that you want to take a VA not for a full-time job. You can decide that you want to have a VA for a limited amount of hours.
Remember, I think the problem when you hire for a limited amount of hours, like especially in Philippines, I heard that they are really looking for a stable, long-term, full-time job. And if I just hire for like 10 hours a week, it will be unstable, because if they get more work from client who gives more hours, then they will not be reliable with me probably.
Yeah, so this is already a different conversation, but yes, this is something that could happen in the Philippines, that a virtual assistant can disappear because they found another job that is more interesting to them or more hours, and actually that's the advantage of VA Academy, is that we are like a home to them, so we give them different kind of employers, different kind of sellers. So one VA could be working with different sellers, becoming more and more professional, but still having exactly the amount of hours that she wants, and she still feels at home and getting better and better every time. So she will not find any need to leave.
Lisett, actually, you work with several Amazon sellers at the same time. How do you feel like jumping as a manager of different accounts?
Mm-hmm. Well, as a manager, I definitely need backup from VAs, and that's why actually virtual assistants are really good, because, for example, myself, I can know and do a lot of things on Amazon and for the businesses, but I just simply don't have enough time to work on each piece daily. So that's why you need maybe 1 assistant or 2 assistants, depending on the store size. But I wanted to reply that when Nigel thinks he's a Superman, then he could think that what are those tasks that he could more easily give to somebody else without him worrying that somebody else is doing them worse than he is currently doing. Because I know this feeling myself, that if I have to give some of my tasks to a VA, I'm also worried that perhaps they are not doing it in my way or the way I'm used to doing it. But then again, those systems come in. So if you have systems in place, it's easier to monitor that the level of work stays the same, and you can be rest assured that everything is taken everything is taken care well, and you don't have to worry, because a lot of sellers, what they do is that they, for example, they hire a VA for customer support, so they should not spend their time on customer support anymore. But what they do is that they don't trust, because they don't have the systems in place. And what they do are, in the free time, they're just scrolling through those messages. And each time they see something from the messages, they make a screenshot, they send a message about that message to the VA. So they're still working on the same thing they hired the VA for. So that's the thing why systems and this automation is really, really connected. So yeah, it's funny. You try to free up your time, but you're still working on the same thing you have VA for.
How many, so you have, in your company has like 45 brands, you said, right?
Yeah, I don't know the most recent count, but I believe it's up. Go ahead.
Yeah, and how do you organize?
We actually have our own. We have our own office in Manila.
So how do you organize all this, taking care of different brands? You have separate sets of like VAs, or you have, as you said, you have your own full-time employees?
Yeah, you're breaking up. We have we have kind of senior brand managers, and then we have a team of virtual assistants as well, a great team that's part of Thrasio in Manila as well. And we have tons of SOPs, as most sellers do, and you need to have, it was mentioned before, but you need to have your operating procedures down before you kind of bring on a team and bring outsource, so you can actually let go. You got to really, I think, focus in on and concentrate and put the hard work in developing the SOPs that allows you to offload those responsibilities. Because I think a lot of times people just hire and they're like, oh, let's try this, and they don't have clear directives and on how to go about executing the tasks that they're hiring somebody for. So I think that's really important.
So this
company we've really focused on.
Does that mean that when you buy a brand with 3 VAs, you fire those 3 VAs, and then now your own employees are taking care of this brand?
Yeah, it depends. So if they have deep institutional knowledge and are kind of integral to maintaining the growth rate of the company, we will keep them on. Some will just roll into our existing team. Sometimes we'll keep them on for a 3 to 6 month period. And sometimes, for instance, we had one team that was doing a really unique customer service kind of offering, and we kept that team, and actually I think we wound up doubling or tripling the team and leveraging it across our other brands because it was such a successful operation. So it's case by case. A lot of times, honestly, the businesses that we're acquiring, the sellers already have launched another brand, but they want to grow and they need the capital to grow that. So they actually keep their teams in place, or we're buying one of their brands, or they have multiple businesses that they're leveraging their VA team for. So there's no really cookie cutter answer, but everybody uses them, and a lot of them actually. It's the linchpin of their success, so they actually wind up keeping them and just repurposing them.
Okay, thank you. So we have a question about probably international marketplace seller. So how to handle VAs for customer service in different European marketplaces with different languages, and how to manage, where to search, how to deal with that, with these different languages and marketplaces. I don't know, Marcin, do you have experience?
Not really, to be honest. In my personal brand, when I launched in Europe, we were having very little customer service in different languages, and we were basically trying to survive on pre-written, pre-translated templates, which basically covered almost 95% of the cases. But that was only for the reason why we already had, experience in the US markets, and we had like our company wiki was like highly developed with hundreds of questions and answers for related to our products. So in a way, we already knew what the questions are and what the answers should be. So what I simply have done is I've translated them properly to the languages, and we had the wiki version for each language. And the VA was managing just like they would simply normally do, which is basically using the wiki templates. Obviously, there were cases where some questions were not covered, and then my VA was trying to use Google Translate to figure out what the question was, and then I tried to arrange the answers, the missing answers by trying to bootstrap some quick answers. And then when we actually had that customer served, then we managed to add that question to the wiki again, and then get it translated properly for the cases. So that was my way of dealing that, and I'm sure you can survive using that solution, like a bootstrap version, if you already have a properly developed wiki with your English versions for the questions. If you need somebody who will be a customer service person for each of the language, to be honest, not much really changes in terms of managing that person, because if you have a system, if you have a task management, and if you have a VA who's already part of the task management system, plugging in another person who simply manages the different language is no different than plugging in another VA, as long as that different language person speaks English or speaks your language, so you can manage them. So to be honest, I don't see an issue there.
Okay. And Ken, you buy a lot of brands, and do you buy also international brands? If you do, how do they deal with this international aspect?
So we buy global sellers. We've bought UK, Pan-EU, etc. And a lot of them, the Pan-EU, they definitely, for instance, the German marketplace, they have VAs, and those are actually some of the VAs that we have kept on board. The localized translation that we don't obviously have expertise in-house. So that is a really good point. That it makes a big impact on conversion.
Actually,
listing, etc.
Okay. I think it's choppy.
I think it's
we cannot hear you very well, but meanwhile, I wanted...
So sorry, is it better now?
Yeah, I just wanted to share for those who are looking for VAs who can speak in German and really affordable. You can go to talent.io. It's a German company or German guys who started some time ago, and they can help you to get VAs for Amazon sellers in Georgia, and they speak very good German. So it's very good for German market. English market, it's easy. I don't know other languages. Gilad, you work with mainly with Philippines, right?
Only. All our VAs are from the Philippines. They do not speak European languages except for English. But we have many sellers that are selling in Germany, in France, and Italy, and Spain, and so on. So the way that they handle it is because they had two options. Either they find, like you showed, somebody who speaks a specific language. So you have German covered, but what about French? What about Spanish? So either you hire several different European VAs, and the cost could be different, and you have to manage several different VAs now just for doing the same task, basically. Or, like I said, we have a lot of sellers that are selling in Europe, and they use a Filipino VA who speaks only English, and the way they solve it is very easy. I mean, they like we said before, if you have everything already built in your company, all the templates, all the structure is built correctly, and then you just add, like in the template itself, you just add in the beginning of the sentence to the email that you're sending the customers, like, "Hi, my name is John. I am not a German speaker. However, we would want to give you service, the best service in your own language. So we use translations options in order to give you the best service that we can. Please forgive me for any small mistakes in my grammar. And that's just the beginning of the sentence. When somebody is reading this kind of sentence, then for them it's already good. I mean, they are, as long as they're getting the answer that they need, and using Google Translate or any other translation option gives you like really like the very good results.
All right, we have a question about systematization. So maybe Marcin, you can give very practical, like, so the guy is asking, how can we do systematization of Amazon business when you are still small company? So I just recently, a few months ago, I decided to systemize the processes, what we do in Orange Klik, and it was a big headache technologically. Maybe you can practically suggest some softwares to use and how to start, like, yeah, Marcin.
Sure, absolutely. So first, you can go to my blog and read all the free posts that I have there. There's a good amount of them. And coming back to customer service question, actually, I'm gonna just talk about this blog post because it's like 3,000 words. It's literally step by step of how to outsource customer service and onboard your VA, and it's like really like properly deep step-by-step process. So definitely check that out. But practical steps are simply that. You need the foundations, and if you're just starting out, you will need those anyway. So the foundation consists of task management system and the information storage place, which we will usually call a company wiki, where you basically store all the information that you may need later on in the future for performing the same task. So these are, and again, I cut it to the bare bones, right? It's just, there are many other ones, but these are the first two that you should have. So use any task management system that you find to your liking, because there's a lot of them. I personally am a Asana believer, and nobody managed to convince me to anything else. So I use Asana. Definitely check that out. There's Trello, there's ClickUp, there's Teamwork and other ones, Basecamp. But start with that and start using the task management system yourself. So in a way, you do everything as you usually would have done during the day, but instead of just starting the task, starting the activity, you simply open the task management system and you put it into the system, you assign it to yourself, and then you start the task. So in a way, you're practicing on yourself on the process of putting it to the system and then assigning it to yourself. And then basically you're getting into that habit, because later on when you have your first VA, you will simply introduce them to the task management system, and instead of assigning it to them, you will, instead of assigning it to you, you will assign it to them. So you get to that habit. So that's the first step of the systematization. And the other one is start building a company wiki. And we already mentioned what the wiki is useful for, which is basically templates for customer service, for example, which is a place for storing all the SOPs, the standard operating procedures, which are the step-by-step instructions how to perform a task. And for that, there are different solutions. There are highly pricey solutions. Currently, the ones I like and suggest are Slite. It's SLITE. If you Google that, just say Slite wiki software, something like that. Very nicely done, very custom, very good design, and everything works well. The other one is Notion. Notion, I think .io, if I'm correct. Just Google Notion. It's also very good. It's slightly more advanced than Slide. Slide is very kind of clean. Notion has many other options, so definitely check that out. I still use in my business Google Sites, because I love everything Google, and it's all very nicely connected. So all my stuff is in Google Sites, which is an internal website only for the organization within the Google environment. So either Google Sites, Notion, but even if you think like what I'm saying now is crazy and you're not even sure that this is something you want to do, just start a Google Doc and just start typing things, right? You search for some information, you need to fill some form out, and you find yourself looking for that information. Just think that you'll probably be looking for that information again, okay? So instead of looking for that information again, just paste that information into that Google Doc. So next time you simply find it quicker, and that's what the wiki is about. Yeah, so these are definitely the 2 steps that anybody should start with if they think about systematization.
Did you mention screen recording, video recording?
Absolutely, yes, that's another thing. So you need some kind of screen recording solution. The one that everybody is using now and love it is called Loom, L-O-O-M. So that's basically the way to either communicate quickly to your VA if you want to show them something. So you basically record a screen, it creates a quick link, and you send that link to your VA so they can watch the instruction. Or even if you don't have VA, you may start to record those tasks that you're performing with a little bit of commentary behind it. So you perform the task as you would have normally do it, but you just talk about what you do and why you do, give some reasons why this, why that, and again, that will be saved, and then simply paste that link into your wiki or Notion, for example, or Slide. What Slide does nicely is when you paste the link from Loom, it will basically embed the video automatically for you, which is lovely. So definitely that's another thing. And then after a while, you will see your wiki starts growing, and your task management, you will have the habit of using it every day. Yeah, and then you're like ready for hiring.
Myself, for screen recording, I'm using Screencast-O-Matic. I think I'm paying for it. There is also a free version.
$15 a year.
Yeah, it's like really cheap. Yeah. So I use it like every day almost to record feedback for tasks we're doing, or if I want to document something. But yeah, Loom is also very, very well developed. I don't know their pricing. I know they have free version as well. Yeah. And actually, Lisett, what do you use like when you are managing?
Yeah, I wanted to add a quick comment. I really agree with Marcin, and I use Asana myself as well. I know it's not that popular among a lot of sellers and Amazon businesses, but it's actually really good. And what is my opinion is that everybody talks about you have to have a system, you have to have some structure, but if you have never done it, you really don't know from where to start. So the easiest way is, like Marcin said, just first take a task management program. For example, Asana has a free version as well. So you can just go there, make an account, and first just mark down each task you do and do it for a week, for example. Just every time you do something, write it down there as a task for yourself. So in the end of the week, you can come back and see what were the tasks you were doing. And then you ask yourself a question: is this a task that I normally do, let's say, 5 times a week? Do I do it 4 times a week? Do I only do it when I launch a new product? Then you can see which are those tasks that you actually need a system and the structure for. So it's like the easiest way how to start off with making some kind of system. And I would also recommend really using Google Docs, because it's super easy to use. Just make a folder, try to keep all the information there, make Google Docs, write everything, write down what you do. And as writing actually takes a lot of time, if you want to write down, for example, all steps for executing, let's say, customer relations task, then the screen recording is really a good thing to do. And I have used it myself. And once I started out as an assistant, I was learning everything by just watching screen records and asking a couple of additional questions.
Perfect. Thank you. I will share what I'm using. So I started with Google Docs, and I was annoyed that I cannot structure properly. And then I just bought a lifetime deal of Better Docs. It's a WordPress plugin. The disadvantage of this, that you have to make your WordPress private only, that people from outside cannot access. And also you cannot give a link to specific documentation to your, let's say, temporal VA. So, but I organized everything with using this plugin. And someone is asking what was the screen recording software. It was Screencast-O-Matic. So yeah, it's nice to give the concrete tool names, because this is what people like. Then they see, and then they copy. I learned myself about a lot of things by listening what people are using, and I'm thinking, okay, probably it will fit for me as well. Lisett, you work with a lot of sellers again. Do you have any question for? We have only Gilad and Marcin left. Unfortunately, Ken disconnected due to bad connection problem.
Yeah, I actually had one question in mind for Gilad, because from talking with a lot of Amazon sellers, they are concerned that if they hire a VA or they outsource some parts of their business, then they are worried that the persons who are working for them don't know the products well enough. So I had a question that, do you have any kind of like procedure for your VAs to get to know the products better that they will start working for? Like, do they have do the companies sell the products to the VAs to have a look, or they explain it really well, or what's your approach on that?
All right. So first of all, what we do is just a little bit about us at the VAA. What we do is we filter the best VAs for the job, but after that we train them specifically on Amazon. And the job is also not just to throw a VA at the seller, but really to support both the seller and the VA through the entire process, which means also to give the seller all the tips that we have from many sellers and many VAs of how to do things correctly, like how to work, how to prepare for the arrival of the VA, how to create these videos and SOPs, and also to preparing the VA of how to do how to enter a company correctly. But that's about us. But basically, if you prepare things correctly, and this is why we have Marcin here to work with the seller and to prepare for them all the SOPs they need. But when you're doing the preparation before the arrival of the VA, and we mentioned before Screencast-O-Matic. So the good thing about Screencast-O-Matic is that you can record your screen and you share a link to it, and then after that there is a password, so the VA can log in. You don't have to give him access to your computer or to send it by email and then look for it. You always have everything in the cloud stored. So the VA will have a password and they can watch it. And basically you just show how you do things in your company, explaining what you want to say about your products, and creating the right Q&A about the products, giving the VA, for example, time to search for competitors, understanding really what the products are, even talking to the supplier in China or in a different country, of understanding exactly how the products work. So if you prepare the things correctly before, and like I said, we help with it, but you still have to do the work. You still have to prepare for the arrival of the VA, and then it's much easier. You will always think that, okay, I could have answered this question better. As the owner of the company, I know best, and I would say it differently. But you have to let go. You have to understand that nobody is you. Okay, so you have to tolerate and to give the VA the confidence into answering and support him or her, even if you think that there should be a different approach here or maybe a different way. Give confidence to your VA, and then they will not bother you every 5 minutes of what should I answer.
And I think this, sorry, Marcin. This leads back to the basics that we talked today at the first place, that first you need to have a system, even if you are only a one-person company or a two-person company, and then it's much easier to outsource as well. So go ahead, Marcin.
Yeah, I just wanted to add, again, I'm not sending you away, but I have a specific video on my channel about, how to prepare the VA for a particular product, dealing with the product. And I always suggest that there is this period where you place an order, but there's production time and there's shipping time. And it's like sometimes 30 days and another 30 days for shipping, for example, by sea. So that's 60 days, right? So during that time, there's a lot of things that VAs could do and prepare themselves. So I'm going to quickly mention a few things. So obviously, when you introduce your VAs into your Amazon Seller Central, they can go through your previous messages and your previous questions and your previous answers, or you can do that using Gmail if you don't want to let them in initially to Seller Central. So what they will do is simply they will go through all the questions, go through all the answers, and that will definitely, start creating an image of the common questions, common issues, common problems. And the other big part is obviously the public questions, the questions on your listing. That's also very, very much gives the overview to the VA of what's going on. And also there are things that are not scalable if you're like making millions of dollars and having hundreds or thousands of products. But if you're starting out and you still can do it, I suggest that you order a product, or you have the product at your office or your home, and you simply I do what's called a unboxing video, especially for my VA. So basically you get the box and you open it and you try to pretend that you are the customer who is like the toughest to deal with, like somebody who would usually complain about. So you basically open the product and you pick it up and you're like, oh, why is this round? And you give the answer and you're like, oh, this packaging is shit. And then you give an answer, what would you say for that? And you basically go through the product, show the product, and you basically, it's a short video, but explaining, showing the product itself. Okay, that's where people ask, this is the common question, and you show it to during the video, and you send that video to the VA, and that will basically again open their mind of like what's going on. And also, again, it depends on your choice, but I personally sent all my products to my VA so she can have it at her home, and if she can see it, she can touch it and know exactly what she's talking about. So that's. And
a few times you mentioned your channel. Is it this channel, Amazing Work System?
Yes, exactly. There's not many videos there, but there is one specific about that question.
Okay,
which is,
perfect.
What to do when you're waiting for the shipment to come.
Okay, so it's Amazing Work System, and you can see Marcin's website here, amazingworksystem.com. We still have a few more questions, but I will just show websites of the people who are on the call. This is the VA Academy Philippines, run by Gilad, so that people watching this know how it looks like, and also can disconnected, unfortunately, but his company is buying Amazon businesses, so you can contact them whenever you feel you're ready to sell your business. And let's see, we have a few more questions. Someone is asking, what about a VA to manage case log in all marketplaces, which causes a lot of frustrations with long threads, many times ending with illogical replies from seller support or transferred forever? Anyone? So obviously there is a problem with a lot of case logs and they cannot handle, and they want to dedicate it, outsource it to VA. So maybe a question, is it like possible? Can they trust it? Or?
Okay, so yeah, the cases obviously are a nightmare, right? So even like for the owner to manage that is hard. And again, you can try to do as much documentation as possible for the common cases. But if it's not possible, it again will simply come down to how you manage your task inside your task management system. So imagine that you don't want to deal with that, but you want your VA to deal with that. But the VA cannot really know all the answers. So the way I simply work is that, say, okay, VA, you are responsible for dealing with that case, but every time you need help, you still need to contact me. But as long as you're not like destroying my life with messages, through all the messengers, which is obviously forbidden in the company because we use task management system. There are simply questions and answers threads inside the task management system, and because you as a systematized person, you live inside your task management system, and as you perform your day, there's a new notification in your Asana that the case was answered, and that answer is bad or following. You comment on that, say, okay, get on them again and ask them this, and again, you would think that answering that in task management system doesn't make sense because you could you may as well answer it inside Seller Central and save that time. But it's actually not, because you need to stop what you're doing, you need to switch to that, and you need to write a proper question and a proper answer and create a proper case. While in your task management system, you can use your really loose language to your VA and say, what the hell, ask them this. And you can type wrong, you can do mistakes, you can do whatever, and that takes you 5 seconds. And then your VA's job is to take what they see in the comment in Asana and then move it back properly to the case. So that's how I deal with the situations where you still need to be involved in that.
And I would add that, for example, when I have been working with Estonian sellers, working that way through Asana allows Estonian sellers to write to me in Estonian. So
exactly,
or the VA is the one who will translate it all in English. So you really because for a lot of people, typing in English versus typing in the native natural language, it takes different time. And managing cases is actually really easy by using a task management system. For example, in Asana as well, you simply, if you want, you can make a task for each case. And as Marcin explained, you just update everything about the case under that task. So everything is in one place. And once the task or the case is finished, you just simply click it's as done, and it moves away from. So it's super easy actually that way.
Yep.
All right, we have a question which is I forgot even, it was not on my mind, but it is always my question when we are talking about VAs, because everybody talks about Philippines, or I prefer Eastern Europeans because they are cheaper than Western Europeans, and the time zone usually is the same. For me, it's also sometimes time zone difference makes me nervous when I work and I have to wait 24 hours until I get response. So what do you think, guys? What other places besides Philippines?
Well, I just like you, I also think that there's nothing wrong in hiring your, fellow citizens of your country. And if you can do that cost effectively, and if you can find somebody who's good, obviously do that, right? And that may help you if you want to talk in your native language. So again, Gilad will probably talk about why do we love Philippines, and for me the reasons are simple. The people there are extremely nice. Their English is super brilliant, and their approach to customer service, particularly types of tasks, is always on the nice side, right? And again, there's different cultures and different approaches, and I'm from Eastern Europe as well. Dealing with customers can be tough, and holding your emotions close to you and not letting it out when you deal with the customers may be hard for some people. So that's definitely usually not the case for Philippine-based VAs.
Before, I think Gilad wants to say something as well, but I will add that also outsourcing from your own country or from Europe or from States is also a good thing to do, because sometimes for some tasks I prefer somebody from the States, just because they are from let's say if we talk about selling in US, then they have the same culture background that the customer has, and therefore they sometimes understand some of the tasks better and are able to deliver more customized work according to how people work, for example. Or when we talk about customer service, for example, what approach I usually have is that I have one approach with US customers, the way we talk with them, what solutions we offer. But then again, for example, in Germany, they expect much more polite answers, and the way of communication is different. But in order to know that, you have to know at least the basic of the culture and how things are usually working outside of Amazon, so in real businesses and offline work.
Organic Deal suggests Venezuela. I wonder, how do we pay Venezuela? Because I know that it's a very difficult situation with payments and banks, but
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin. Yeah, maybe. Gilad, you have anything to say about like different countries? Or
I used to work. No, I used to work before, on many different platforms with VAs from other countries as well. I would say now that I would not start to say why not hire other countries. The benefits of the Philippines is that their culture, their English, their pay level, everything goes directly to what we need for Amazon sellers. So it's not necessarily if you're looking for algorithm crackers, then maybe necessarily it's not going to be your best choice. But for doing tasks that are related to Amazon, customer service, and if you want somebody that's loyal enough, and it's all about helping you in your business and doing the same tasks over and over again and staying in the same level, then the Philippines is really great. I would say I have a decent English, and I always learn new words from my Filipino staffs. So their English is very high level. They are all focused on helping you as do a great customer service, working together with you and really becoming a part of your business. So it's really for me the best solution.
Perfect. And Organic Deal says that you can pay with PayPal for people from Venezuela. Good to know. But keep in mind there will be a time difference probably if you are hiring from Europe. I mean, if you're based in Europe, then there will be a time difference. But they might be good for US and Mexican marketplaces because of the Spanish language. We have 3 more questions I see in the list, so let's take them. What about business off Amazon, like Shopify and other marketplaces? Would also this apply? But okay, I'm not sure to what this person is referring, so probably we'll skip because it was posted like 10 minutes.
It was around the time we discussed the systematization and task management, I think. So yeah, it applies for other businesses as well.
Yeah. As Marcin said at the beginning, like any business needs systematization or something like that, right? All right, one more question. Employees must usually be paid for the time they spend for learning from the SOPs or from articles you show them. So yeah, basically I also sometimes have a question. I want my assistant to learn, let's say SEO, and should I pay for her time for watching, 40-hour course? How do you deal with that?
From my experience, I can say that if you outsource somebody who doesn't have, or you take an employee who doesn't have previous experience, then it will be your cost to teach them. That's the difference between hiring somebody who doesn't have the specific know-how and experience versus hiring a VA who is already trained and all prepared to join your team.
Yeah, basically, again, it kind of depends on how you want to treat your VA, right? If you want to treat them as a task maker that has no, future in your business, you just want somebody who just tick off the task, you don't really build much of a relationship, you don't see them long term, then obviously you don't care, you don't pay, you're a bad boss anyway, so it doesn't matter. But if you treat them as a part of your team and you want to see them grow and you want to expand their knowledge, I believe that should be part of the whole pay that you pay them, and also that that kind of ties into time management of your VAs as well. So it's a broad topic, but you can say that okay. I have in my Asana, there's a section education, right? And every time I find some free course or something, doesn't have to be free, or I buy a course, I simply put the link there into the education section, and we kind of have an agreement with my VA that if she has a dead period of where she's finished with the tasks, there's not much to do, she kind of feels there's still an hour left in a day for her to do work, again, if you build that relationship, she will or he will go to the education section and she will read, or watch that video. If you didn't build that, approach and that system, they will probably just finish with the task and switch off. So in a way that it is paid for, because you're already paying for those hours, but you kind of hope that your VA manages their time to do that. That's kind of how I approach it. Okay, we have a question from Peter. How to set quarterly goals for VAs? Do you use OKR system? I don't know what it does mean. Should goals cover all areas of responsibilities or just the most important ones? What is OKR? Do you know? I could guess, but I'm not gonna. So quarterly goals for VAs. So are we talking about education? Probably not. Sure. No, I think it's general. It relates to KPI tracking and all that. And when do you know that your VA is doing a good job or not? I believe that could be the question. So I can share what I do is we basically set up a yearly, quarterly, and monthly goals. And because I have weekly calls and sometimes bi-weekly calls with the VAs, we simply set up, during the short conversation. Because on the weekly ones, you do it quickly. You don't go into much details. But on the monthly one, we basically set up, goals for the business and for the VA. So if a goal for the business is to grow, I don't know, launch X amount of products or whatever, then with your VA, you simply talk about the parts that they will be helping you with. And even if it's something like they don't really help you much in the whole, growing of the business process, but they are responsible for, customer service or whatever, they still have the goal. So the goal is that they do their job, and the KPI would be, for example, reply to every message in less than 12 hours or 6 hours, right? So you go through that, and then on the weekly calls or weekly check-ins, you see how you're doing, and if they're doing well, that's great. If not, obviously you talk about it. You set up, you try to get away, filter all the reasons why it's not working. So again, it's different than setting up goals for your business partner or for your high-level management employee, because you obviously talk about big goals and big things. While VA may not have such a big things, but you can still, kind of find some KPI that you want to stick to, and then get those check-ins in with them. So I'm not sure if that answers the question, but I think it's more related to management position, I guess.
So OKR is an objective key results system.
Gilad, I read the book.
Gilad, how do you? Yeah.
First of all, I would like to a bit late, but I would like to comment on the last question there. I would say yes. Okay, so about us, we're training the VAs before, and we continue to give them extra trainings all the time. So basically, they come with the knowledge, but it never ends, right? So there's always the part that you would like to give the VA new stuff to learn. And I would say every time that you're wondering whether or not you should pay it, especially with the Filipino VAs, you should pay it. You should not save on these little budgets with your VAs. Because basically the idea would be that they would feel as part of your team, and they would really feel that you put the extra mile for them, and you will get 10 times more back. It goes back to should I pay them like a Christmas bonus or not, and it goes to should I add these hours to their work or not. So at least in my case with my staff, every time I have to think of this question, then my answer would be to give this to the VA and more, even to to surprise them with extra value and then extra bonuses and gifts, but not that they will work just to get them. But once the VA feels like you took the decision for them and not just saving on them, then you will get 10 times more back. So that's my answer for the last question. I would say, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. So about the objectives, I think that Marcin covered it very good. It's his it's his basically point of expertise. What we do is usually that you set goals both on the long run and also on the short run, like the task of this week, task of next week. So not just on quarterly basis, but also like, okay, we are here. I want you to start answering customer service all by yourself. So we're not gonna, okay, this is the Q&A and this is the information you need, but this is the goal for 3 months from now. But you will have the objective for next week is that you will have only 10 times to ask me questions, or you will already know all the answers that were asked in all the competitors' listings, for example, and the week after. So you're building the goals from 1 week to the other, and you keep it. And then after a quarter, you see if you're answering what you set up to.
Perfect. And let's take the last question. So why everybody, it's quite nice out of, discussion, why everybody talks about VAs? Why not to set up an office and hire a regular employees in a house, which has advantages? Probably it will be more costly. Anyone?
I can see Piotr, maybe he's from Poland. And if he is, he probably knows the cost of hiring a full-time person in Poland with all the fees and everything. So
can you give an example, like what is the cost maybe having just a person in the office? We are not talking about the hiring office.
Yeah, well, again, it depends on the level, but I just want to say that you need to double that. Well, let's just say another 70% on top of that for taxes and social protection fees. So obviously there's that. And there's cost of setting up offices and other things. And I think it also ties into your goals of how you want to build your business. And I think probably that the answer to the question is why everybody is talking about it, because in the Amazon world, most of us wants to live a location-independent business, and Corona showed that it's nice to run the business from your home no matter what. And I think that's the main reason. So it's a majority of cases, but not everybody. And also, having an office and then having a VA is also very, very, very common practice. So you would have somebody who works in the office and does some, the tasks that you need them for, that you talk to them about, that you quickly solve out. But then do you really need to have somebody sitting next to you paying all the fees that they simply do the repetitive tasks, the VA type of tasks that can be outsourced very quickly, and they just happened without that? Again, it's a decision, but it makes a lot of sense to outsource that to virtual.
And I think it's also because of the sorry, I'm just jumping in. It's also because of how quickly Amazon business could change in a short period of time. Let's say companies can grow really quickly, meaning that maybe today you're thinking that you can do everything yourself, but in a month you already need 2 other persons. And also sometimes Amazon sellers have tasks that don't require having somebody full-time. Maybe these are the tasks that are only needed to be done when you launch a new product. So like Gilad said, you can hire somebody for an hour a day, somebody else for another task, maybe 2 hours a day, and you can change the time you need somebody helping you. So I think it gives like the business owner a flexibility as well.
Flexibility, exactly, that's the word.
But yeah, it's true. It makes sense, this question, because even my assistant, who is from Lithuania, from my country, but I was asking you, how does she feel? And she says, she's missing for some connection with real people. So one way for these people, for this kind of virtual assistants, could be to go to a co-working and join there with different groups. All right. So we had, someone was asking more questions. How can we check VA's time spent and on each task, how much they work, not for another unimportant things? So to use some kind of time tracking app with screenshots, right? Can you suggest any?
Yeah, there is a Time Doctor, which is really good. But you know what? The simple answer would be to give you the names of all the different tracking options. I don't use it. I think the best way to work with the virtual assistant is to create procedures, to set goals, and to be in direct contact with the VAs to see what is the output and to see if they reach the goals that you created for them. It gives them the trust to know that they are part of the team and not just that you're the big brother just working and matching. And also it will take all the time from you. I mean, the idea is that somebody else is doing the work for you, not that now you have to spend all the time supervising them and checking every step they do. So I prefer not to use it. If you reach a situation that you must use it, then you have to ask yourself also, am I doing something wrong or here, or is this the right VA for me? But yes, this option exists. This Time Doctor, for example, it gives you the option to be the big brother like you never imagined. You can check the websites that the VA was going through during the work, and you can see how the percentage of the time that they moved the mouse or the keyboard using the hour. So if they didn't, if they went to have lunch and they forgot to turn off the time tracker, then it will alert you that nobody's moving the mouse, and you can see if they're working from home or if they went to work from a coffee place, because their GPS will not be the same. So basically, there is really like the option to know everything about your VA, not to mention screenshots and everything. So, but the question is if you want to use it or not.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite topics. Yes, I agree 100% with Gilad. It just goes against so much. Everything I teach is just hard to me to recommend the software. Yeah, like what would be the case where UVA, who is paid for doing the job that they are supposed to do, for you to use that software, right? So like, okay, so I'm gonna give them customer service, right? And I'm gonna have them a KPI of posting, I don't know, 5 posts per day on my social media, right? And you have a weekly, monthly, weekly setups and goals. And on Monday you have the overview for the next week. You repeat the goals, and on the next Monday, when you do the review part of the call, you're like, okay, you didn't do it, right? And you didn't post 5. So what happened? And they give you all the reasons what happens. And you're, as a leader, you're like, okay, what's the issue here? Like if it's an actual issue, then your job as a leader is to solve the issue, and you try again. And after a while, if you see that it's not you, it's not the system, it's them, they're not the right VA, right? Like it's literally that simple, okay? So what that software would change? Well, you can spy on them, and then you can throw it in their face on the call. And you're like, do you really want to run that way, or do you want to check the KPIs, see what the problem is, try to solve the problem? If the problem cannot be solved, that's the wrong VA. Like it's literally that simple. But if you start to introducing those kind of tactics, it definitely undermines all the culture building and you're part of the team and all that stuff. So like for me, it makes no sense. And the one other thing I want to mention is that if you think you're smart by using the tracking software, do you really think the person on the other side that is not smart enough to know that if they're not doing a good job, they're just cheating on you, that they don't have ways to cheat the time tracking cheating system cheating cheat? They can. And there are ways. And you can see how it spirals, right? It's like you try to cheat them, they try to cheat your system, and like it's crazy. Like, what's the point? So,
and again, I would say that if you use if everybody in the team uses like a task management system, it also shows you already the way how the person works, because if he or she has to reply to something or do some task, and you start to see that they are not doing it, then probably they are not working. But it's a business like any other business offline. So to see if a VA is a good fit for your company, you first have to have like a test period where you maybe look out more how they work, how they perform, but then you have to build a trust, because it has to be like both sides communication and cooperation. Otherwise, you can't really grow your business either. So it's just you have to think it like as a real business.
Yeah. Do you really want to be the guy who sneaks in the office, checks through the curtain, what the person is doing on the?
The thing I think is just to let them use. If you want to track the time, just use the most simple time tracking software, and just in the end of the month or in the end of the week, you can see what tasks they have done, how long does it take, etc. And then just communicate with the person and really try to understand where did the time go, or if everything went well or not. So the key is just we are all humans and we're all like working together. So just communication and trust is really important.
Okay, so everybody wants you not to be in control, not to control too much. I like to control, I have a problem. But people are happy about the answers. And actually, my team is using Toggle. It's a free tracking software without screenshots. So I use it just to see more or less. Sometimes I want to evaluate, how long does it take to do social media in 1 month. Maybe I would reduce, but actually, to be honest, I'm not really looking at the reports, but people are tracking it in order to know how much they have to charge me. So
tracking for the
invoice.
It's fine. It's tracking to spy is different.
All right, so let's wrap up. And Thrasio was here. Ken KUBEC from Thrasio. They are buying Amazon businesses. He left about half an hour ago due to internet connection. But if you want to reach out to him, contact this company. And also Gilad, he runs an agency where you can hire Philippine-based VAs. They are specializing in Amazon business, right, Gilad?
Yeah.
So it's like perfect, and you can hire for a few hours only. And these people are good at what they are doing because they can work for. They might be working for different Amazon sellers on the same, let's say, social media tasks. And then we have Amazing Work System. It is by Marcin. It's actually a course. Are you still selling this course where you teach people how to systemize?
Yes. So amazingworksystem.com is basically, there's a blog. There's a lot of free information. I do consulting, and there's also a online course where I take you through the whole process, taking from no systems to fully systematized Amazon business. So you're ready either for hiring or, if you already have VAs, you'll basically be managing them better.
Perfect. And visit 4 videos on Amazing Work System channel.
Have to start somewhere.
And also, if you want to visit our special guest Lisett, who was also giving her opinions by sharing her experience from working with different Amazon sellers. And don't forget to subscribe to Orange Klik YouTube channel, of course. Let me put this thing. Yes, do it. Yeah, because we like when YouTube sends you notifications about new videos we create with different Amazon experts and softwares and event organizers sometimes. At the moment, there are no events. And cool. Thanks a lot for all today's guests, Ken including from Thrasio. And I hope we will see you in the future. And good luck. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All the best.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay.